So if you're at the point where you've got all of your pieces made, then we can start piecing it all together. But first, a few more cuts to do. So what I'm doing here is cutting some supports. So these are 70mm high. It doesn't particularly matter about the width. You're also going to have to cut a couple which are 40mm high. Now these are going to be attached. Now I've used a glue gun here. You can attach it with anything you want, and they are going to be aligned with the bottom of the walls, and they are going to support the floor at the back. I mean, it's potentially not necessary, but it's a few minutes effort just to make it all a bit more sturdy. So that's going to be on all of the walls. So the 70mm ones are going to go across the whole thing. The 40mm ones are going to have to go here. You'll see at the bottom of the set. Now the position isn't particularly important as long as it's not interfering with anything else. Now onto the construction of the sides here. So I've got my variable temperature hot glue gun. I've got a link in the things for this. So this means you can put on lower temperature things so you can work a bit more accurately and you don't end up with those annoying strings of glue. So I'm putting it inside of the edge of this. This is upside down, then sliding in the piece here horizontally, and that means that when you're squidging the glue down, it's not squidging downwards, which is actually towards the top. It's going more into the recess. I mean, they fit pretty snugly anyway, but this just finishes them off quite nicely. So doing that on both sides, and you have a piece that ends up looking like that. You also need to be putting the walls in here. Now, what I did here was held a bit of foam, and I'm just marking out where 10mm is in so that I can make sure I'm putting the glue in the right place. I'm also making sure I've got my runes the right way up. Not that that matters even slightly, but it was something that was important to me at the time of construction. And just sliding this in very carefully. I mean, it should be, again, be a pretty nice snug fit. If it isn't, then it doesn't matter too much because you're using hot glue, and that kind of space it all out a little bit, and then going across and doing the other ones as well. Nothing particularly complicated about this, and obviously, as you can see, my set square, using the set square to make sure that they are nice and steady. Now I put an extra bit of foam in there just because there was a gap and it was bothering me, and I wanted it to be a bit more secure. Now with the this is the back bit of floor, well, the back walkway. So I put a mark in so that I knew exactly where the piece was going to be glued, and then just glued the bottom of it to these support bits. You know, it helps if you don't let it fall down like that. But the positioning of this isn't particularly complicated, and you know, using hot glue, it sets pretty quickly. So just doing both sides of that to make sure that is nice and sturdy. So you can put it in place, you get a little bit of working time, but the good thing is it actually lines up perfectly with the floor slabs, so that's great. Now we're doing a similar thing with the walls here at the back, and we're going to do the walls at the side. Just put some glue on the edges and slotting it in. Obviously, it's not so much slotting on the end pieces because we don't have a pillar to be going up against yet. So yeah, and you can make this even more secure by running a bead of glue along the inside edge. Probably not necessary at all, but I did it, so you get to see it. So the edge pieces, we're just going to do the two edges which are going to be butted up against the thing, putting it in place, and then using the set square just to make sure that that is vertical, and it's not really any more complicated than that. And that will finish your, so if you've done both side walkways and you've done your back walkway, then that's all the work that you need to be doing on it really. So I went on and did a dry fit of this to just see how well it came together, and this one was just fractionally too big, and I mean literally I think about 1.5 mils, so I'm just trimming that off. And once I did that, the fit was so good that I probably didn't even need glue, but I did use glue obviously. Now for the front wall, we're going to take our front support walls, we're going to put some glue down the edge which is going to be glued, and we've previously marked on, well I previously marked on, and I told you to in the plans, exactly where these are going. So just align them with those lines, make sure it's aligned with the top and bottom, and you can use a set square to make sure that it is nice and perpendicular, and then you're going to do the same on the other side. Nothing particularly complicated with this. It's just a case of sticking the piece in the right position and making it aligned. But apparently I'm showing you the other one as well, just in case you didn't believe that I did it, but you can see here that I did. But it's good to be complete about these things, I think. Now, once I had all those pieces down, glued all together, I decided it was a good idea to do a real just test run of where everything was going to go, and then mark out the floor such that I knew exactly where every piece was going to go. Now, whether this is necessary or whether it isn't, I'm not entirely sure, but I decided that it would be a good idea to do it so that I knew, so sometimes you've got good working time with glue. If you're using a glue gun, maybe you've not got so much good working time, and if you get it in the wrong position, it ends up just all being a little bit messy. So this took a bit of time, but it didn't take forever. So whether you decide to do this or not is entirely up to you, but it ended up looking like that. And I decided that at this point, I'll be honest, a lot of this build I was making up as I went along. A lot of it was the plan, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with the floor, so I decided to do a tinfoil roll on all of the parts which would be showing. It ended up being that was probably a little bit pointless. Now on to actually putting it all together. So I started with the front wall because I thought that was probably going to be the most important. And this is just literally a case of putting it into place. Now you'll notice that the corners where I cut the miters, ended up being a bit of an issue for me. This is why I really suggest that you just don't bother. Just make the just follow the schematics and don't do the miters, and you will not have to mess around with not perfectly cut 45-degree angles like I did. So there was a lot of farting around for me when I constructed this. If you've got nice straight edges and follow the schematics, then this will just be an absolute breeze. So this took me probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 times as long because of the miters, which I cut for no apparent reason. So my point is, don't cut the miters. But what you're really doing here is you're just putting glue on the edges which are going to be glued, you're aligning them with the sides, and you're slotting it all together and just waiting for that to dry, which, given that you're using a glue gun, doesn't take very long at all. But this is really satisfying to see it all come together, and just how accurately things have been measured. It's pleasing to me. So I used PVA. I think this is like strong PVA, like wood glue, to glue the sides together, just so we've got a good amount of working time. So glue on the top of the supports and glue on the pillars as well. I mean, like I said, the fit on this was so good, it might not have even been necessary. So doing one side, doing the back, and then doing the other side as well, and you'll see that slot in just a second. But yeah, nothing complicated with this at all, just putting glue on and gluing it. This is like the last yards when you've done all of the work. This is the easy bit. This is the bit where all your work starts to come together. You see how nice and tight that fit is. So like I said, glue maybe not even necessary, but obviously I did glue it. So from here, again, this is a part where I wasn't sure if I'd made it, how to do it exactly. And I decided that the steps should actually cut into the side of the walkway rather than have the stairs just stepped back a bit. That's already included in your schematic, so you don't have to do this, but you can see that I'm doing it. So yeah, very, very simple case here with the stairs. Once you've cut that bit here just slots up to that, like so. So yeah, nothing complicated. And just putting the stairs down, you've already got the position completely defined by the front support wall and the front wall itself. So just putting some glue on and slotting that into the corner. And then for this, then there's the stair support wall, which goes just at the front of the stairs here, so that the top part of the stairs has got something to attach to. So just putting that into place, making sure it's vertical, and then adding some glue to the top of that, and adding some glue to the 40mm support that you glued on a little bit earlier. And that's all that you need in order to position the top stairs. Very, very quickly, it's all just come together. Then obviously doing the same on the other side. Now, putting the well in, I think I just eyeballed this. This is going in the center of the back, so the back position is defined, and it's just making sure it's it's in the middle. So I think I'd drawn the lines earlier, so I knew exactly where this was going, and I knew exactly where this was going. The schematics, the bird's eye view schematics, will show you exactly how far in it should be, should you wish to do it, having not marked out everything. But yeah, the well goes in the centre at the back, and the tomb goes in the dead centre. Now to do the floor. So all the floor tiles are already cut, although they're not painted at this point. And then from here I just did it in sections. So the front section is it's 160 mil across, which means 4 full 40 mil tiles will fit in. So I decided that was a good place to start. And this is very much a case of me just picking up a tile and deciding how it should go. So there are full tiles, there's broken tiles, there's half tiles, there's places where the tiles are missing. And it's very much just a free form thing of, it's very difficult. I mean, there's no wrong, really. It's just going with whatever you feel like looks right, maybe thinking ahead about where you might want to put some rubble down, thinking about where things might be more worn, more broken, but just, a few bits at a time, add a bit more glue, add some more tiles, add a bit more glue, add some more tiles, and just go through the process until the whole thing is full up. So you see I've left some gaps there, and then with the glue still in place, this is immediately after putting down, just chucking some flock down. So there was some coal type things I put that, so it's very black stone. There's this, which is I think urban scatter or something like that. Just a sprinkle of that, and this is like a very fine greystone flock. It's called from Javis Scenics, and then just a little jiggle of the tomb itself, and then chuck a load of heavy things inside to make sure the floor is being held down. And I decided to actually do the sponging with the floor in place rather than having to sponge individual tiles. So once it was dry, just going over and sponging the entire thing and just adding a bit more of the lighter colour in areas which I felt would be more worn. Now it's time to put the rubble down. So to put the rubble down, just some spots of some PVA glue and just putting things down where I thought they should be. So typically a larger block followed by some little blocks. Gluing the door into place as well. You could just have that as scattered terrain. You could have it anywhere. I've got mine glued down. And then adding tiny little bits of rubble as well. And it really was as simple as that. Now finally onto the paper, the tiny little pages. So you have a bit of it reminds me of being at school where you had to do like an old document. So a bit of tea stain there. If the oven's on, you can dry it in the oven, cut the paper into tiny little pieces. Very, very simple like this. And then just sticking these down with PVA glue wherever felt like the right position. And then I finish mine off with some dead dwarf skeletons, which you can have 3D printed if that is something that you want to add in to make your Balin's tomb like mine.